Today we are ranking all 21 Pokemon EX from the Scarlet and Violet Obsidian Flame set. At number 21 is Melmetal EX. Melmetal EX would be bad as a basic EX Pokemon. This card is a stage 1 and has 2 lackluster attacks. The first being Metabolize, that allows you to search your deck for 2 basic steel energy and attach them to Melmetal EX. Melmetal's second attack is Full Metal Knuckle and reads, this attack does 30 more damage for each steel energy attached to this Pokemon. If you completely set up Melmetal EX with the massive 4 energy required to attack, you would only be doing 200 damage. Number 20 is Greedent EX. Greedent EX falls short of every standard that makes a card playable. Greedent has a low 260 hit points for a stage 1 EX Pokemon. Greedent's first attack, Never Eat Enough, reads, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put those cards into your hand. If you don't, discard those 3 cards and draw 3 more. This could be a useful setup attack if it were on a basic Pokemon. Being a stage 1, it's unplayable. Greedent's second attack, Slip and Roll, does 210 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Slip and Roll. This falls short of being able to one-hit KO most basic Pokemon EX and Pokemon V that normally have 220 hit points. Number 19, we have Miraidon EX. This Miraidon EX isn't even playable in the overpowered Tandem Unit ability Miraidon Dex. Its first attack, Rapid Draw, does 20 damage and draws 2 cards, and its second attack does 150 damage, falling short of a 2-hit KO on all big Stage 2 EX Pokemon, such as Charizard EX. The energy acceleration it provides with the second attack helps, but still falls short of being usable. Number 18, we have Eiscue EX. Eiscue is an interesting Pokemon because its attack can cause significant problems for decks that don't play a lot of switching options. Eiscue's attack, Scalding Block, does 160 damage, and you discard an energy from Eiscue. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't attack. You could potentially trap your opponent's Pokemon with Boss's Orders, but the effect is easily negated with a simple switch out. Number 17 on this list, we have Victini EX. Victini EX has an extremely low 190 hit points with 2 attacks. Strafe, that does 30 damage, and allows you to switch to a Pokemon on your bench. It's a very interesting attack, but needs considerable setup from cards like Rapidash to increase damage. The second attack, Victory Flame, does 220 damage, and reads, you cannot attack with Victini EX next turn. A 220 damage, 3 energy cost attack is extremely basic. At number 16, we have Houndoom EX. Houndoom only ranks higher than Victini because it's a dark type, which is strong versus the current meta that includes Mew VMAX and Gardevoir EX. Houndoom has 2 attacks. The first, Evil Claw, does 90 damage and reads, if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn. On a basic EX, this would be an interesting attack. Being a stage 1, Houndoom is essentially a worse Umbreon VMAX. Coming in at number 15, we have Absol EX. Absol could see niche play inside of lock and control decks with its attack Future Sight that reads, look at the top 3 cards of either player's deck and put them back in any order. The problem being, it's an attack. If this were an ability, it would be extremely powerful. Absol's second attack, Cursed Slug, does 100 damage and reads, if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in their hand, this attack does 120 more damage. This is just a bad attack that has a very high energy cost of 3. Number 14 is Decidueye EX. Decidueye has a unique ability, Total Freedom, that reads, once during your turn, you may use this ability if this Pokemon is on the bench, switch it with your active Pokemon, or if this Pokemon is in the active spot, switch it with one of your benched Pokemon. If Decidueye had free retreat cost, this could be used as a switch utility tech and nothing else. Having 2 retreat cost, it severely limits Decidueye EX. Decidueye has an extremely weak attack, Hunting Arrow, that does 130 damage, and reads, this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Decidueye EX doesn't even take 2-hit knockouts on most Pokemon. Number 13 on this list is Koraidon EX. Koraidon doesn't do anything special, but has an above average HP at 230 for a basic EX Pokemon and does above average damage with 230 damage with its attack, Gaia Press. Koraidon's first attack, Splitting Beam, does 20 damage, and also this attack does 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Splitting Beam has interesting possibilities when paired up with Ting-Lu EX and its attack Land Scoop that also damages your opponent's bench, potentially taking single prize knockouts on low HP basic Pokemon such as Pidgey, Charmander, and Frigibax. The problem being, you have to have Koraidon in the active spot to use Splitting Beam. which negates the effect of Tinglu's ability. Coming in at number 12 is Cloth EX. Cloth has a very powerful ability, Counter-Attacking Pincer, which reads if this Pokemon is in the active spot and damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, even if this Pokemon is knocked out, discard an energy from the attacking Pokemon. Paired with the tool card Rugged Helmet, you could remove 2 energy cards from your opponent's Pokemon. The problem with Cloth is that it's a basic EX Pokemon with a low 220 hit points. If you're utilizing Cloth's ability, it's usually going to be at the cost of being knocked out and giving your opponent 2 prize cards. Coming in at number 11 is Houndstone EX. Houndstone EX has the attack Last Respects, which does 160 damage plus 10 more for each Psychic Pokemon in your discard pile. Its attack cost of 3 is pretty high, forcing you to run Gardevoir EX in order to power it up. Playing Ralts, Kirlia, and Gardevoir lines give you plenty of Pokemon to power up Last Respects to reach one-hit knockouts on bigger EX Pokemon. Number 10, we have Pawmot EX. Pawmot has a lot of potential, but is unfortunately a Stage 2 Pokemon. Pawmot's attack, 11 Strike, reads discard 2 Lightning Energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 220 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. This allows you to snipe 2 prize bench sitters like Lumineon V and Squawkabilly EX. Having free retreat only adds to Pawmot EX's potential. Number 9 on this list is Dragonite EX. Dragonite is either the best card from this set or the worst card, depending on if you flip heads or tails with its attack. Mighty Meteor does 140 damage and reads flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 140 more damage. If tails, during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. When you're flipping heads, Dragonite one-hit KOs V-Star Pokemon and most basic and Stage 1 EX Pokemon. When you flip tails, you're just not having a good time. Dragonite EX needs more support, such as the Stadium card Glenwood Tangle, to be more consistent and powerful. Number 8 on this list is Tyranitar EX. Tyranitar doesn't do anything really well, it just has a massive 340 hit points and does a consistent amount of damage with its attack, Lightning Rampage, that does 150 damage and reads if your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, this attack does 100 more damage. Needing fighting type energy to attack really limits Tyranitar EX with its lightning type. At number 7, we have Clefable EX. Clefable has a great ability in Lunar Zone that reads all of your Pokemon that have psychic energy attached have no retreat cost, allowing you to keep your psychic Pokemon from being knocked out by simply retreating them with this ability. Clefable EX also has a good attack with Wondrous Moon that does 170 damage and reads you may move any amount of psychic energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you like. This allows you to remove energy from damaged Pokemon and place them on a safer bench target. This opens up a lot of possible setups to respond to keep your energy in play and just overall have a more consistent deck. Coming in at number 6 is Revavroom EX. Revavroom has limitless possible uses with its ability tune-up that reads, this Pokemon may have up to 4 Pokemon tool cards attached to it. If it loses this ability, discard Pokemon tools until it only has 1 remaining. You can attach Panic Mask to block attacks, Rugged Helmet to remove energy. If you play Iono or Judge to reduce your opponent's hand size, you could use Spirit Mask to discard cards from your opponent's hand, potentially bringing them down to 0 cards in hand every time they attack. With its damage reducing attack and upcoming tools to further reduce damage, Revavroom could be a fun deck choice once Path to the Peak rotates from the format. Number 5, we have Vespiquen EX. Vespiquen is here for its attack, Phantom Queen, that does 200 damage and reads, put 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. The key to this attack is it places damage counters, so it cannot be blocked by bench protectors like Manaphy. With decks playing low HP basic Pokemon such as Comfey, Ralts, Frigibax, Pidgey, and Charmander, the amount of damage output from this attack becomes overwhelming for your opponent. Number 4 on this list, we have Glimmora EX. Glimmora has the ability Dust Field that reads as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't have more than 3 benched Pokemon. If they have 4 or more benched Pokemon, they discard benched Pokemon until they have 3 on the bench. If more than one effect changes the number of benched Pokemon allowed, use the smaller number. With the amount of setup needed in the standard format currently, limiting your opponent to 3 bench spots can ruin their game plan, especially if they are discarding their setup Pokemon in play because of this effect. Coming in at number 3, we have Toedscruel EX. Toedscruel has the ability Protective Misylum that reads, prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon that have energy attached. This blocks Sableye Lost Mine and Giratina's V-Star's Star Requiem attack. That's it. That's why it's number 3, just because it blocks those 2 attacks. Toadscruel has the attack Colony Rush that does 80 damage and reads, this attack does 40 more damage for each of your bench Pokemon that has an energy attached. With a maximum of 280 damage, you can take down Pokemon V-Star and set up 2-hit knockouts on larger VMAX and Stage 2 EX Pokemon, with the potential to shut down one of the best decks in the format and hit Charizard EX for weakness. Toadscruel is well positioned to be a viable deck. Number 2 on this list is Charizard EX. Charizard is easily the strongest attacker from Obsidian Flames, with its attack Burning Darkness that does 180 damage and reads, this attack does 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken, bringing the maximum damage to 330, enough to knock out almost everything in the format, except cards like Tyranitar EX. The damage output for only 2 energy is ridiculous. Not only is Charizard EX an extremely strong attacker, it has one of the best abilities from Obsidian Flames as well. Infernal Rain reads, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may search for your deck for up to 3 basic fire energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then shuffle your deck. You can use these energy to power up any Pokemon, or simply put 2 on your Charizard to attack, and the 3rd on your active to retreat, or to set up another Charizard to attack after your first one is taken down. The number 1 card from Obsidian Flames is Pidgeot EX. Pidgeot has the amazing ability Quick Search that reads, once during your turn, you may search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. You can't use more than 1 Quick Search ability each turn. Being able to search for any card has always been extremely powerful, and slotting Pidgeot into any deck that already uses Rare Candy pushes it to number 1 over Charizard. Pidgeot has free retreat, providing a pivot card and a usable attack in Blustery Wind, doing 120 damage, and allows you to discard a stadium in play. How would you rank the EX cards from Obsidian Flames? Let me know down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.